Sam Dubé here again with another author interview. Today we're in the residence of Regina Gershman, who is a children's author, but her day job is as a business analyst. She's also a self-esteem and image coach, a fashion advisor, as well as an etiquette expert, and that's common etiquette, manners, and dating etiquette. So very interesting combination here, Regina. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure's mine.
Thank you for having us in your home. So you've written a couple of books here, and one of them is The Power of the Magic Word, and the other is Animals from My Window. So could you talk to us a little bit about the earliest book? And I think that was this one. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
The Power of the Magic Word was written for the purpose of the children's manners. I find in today's society, there's just not enough manners for the children, also for adults as well, that use the courtesy words such as please, thank you, and excuse me. Some kids know it, and some kids absolutely don't know it, and never use it. It never comes in their vocabulary. I had done a couple of book signings, and in my book signings I have parents of the children that come up to me and ask me about my books, and the moment I tell them they're courtesy books for the purpose of the usage in today's vocabulary, please, thank you, and excuse me, they seem to be very uninterested. I find that The Power of the Magic Word, sometimes to them it's synonymous with Harry Potter books, and which is not, completely different idea. So etiquette in today's society is very, very important, and I think etiquette should come back, whether it's children's etiquette, etiquette in today's society, or general etiquette, business etiquette, elevator etiquette, and also the bathroom etiquette.
Okay, so we've established that it's important, but I'd like to delve a little deeper, because you come from a background as a family mediator as well. And I remember reading something about the importance of dinner conversations, for instance, in the self-esteem of children, and then learning how to deal with living, with problems that talk back, right? Peer pressure and various other things. So can you talk a little bit to that in your role as a family mediator, in your role as a self-esteem coach, the importance of manners and etiquette?
Of course. Well, in the past, families like to eat together, like in this book. They sit together, they eat together, and they discuss daily problems, issues, and they solve the issues together. So this creates this creates energy in the household. So the children and the parents are very close together, and in the society, the way it used to be. But in today's world, I find because of the divorce and separation, the society and the family is broken, and they usually don't sit around the table and discuss daily issues and problems, and the children grow up very insecure in themselves, and especially with tablets and iPhones and everything around the dinner table that should not be around the dinner table when they're eating. I think
like what? Like what?
Well, I find that when family or just mother and the children sit around the table, I find that the children would sit there and play video games on their phones instead of talking and eating. I find this is ridiculous. I think the phones and tablets should be put away during the dinner table, and but if the parents do it themselves, so of course the children will mimic whatever the parents are doing. They'll think that's okay too, and they'll do it. And that's what the children are doing today. But what's going to happen to their children tomorrow.
So, you're the mother of two grown sons.
Yes, I am.
Can you talk a little bit about how you raised them and what you implemented? Did you implement this strategy? What little things did you do? In speaking with our listeners, what can they do then as parents? You talked about being a good role model, and what other things can they do?
Well, when I was growing up with my children, we would sit around the table just like in this book, and we would discuss the daily issues, current affairs, what's going on in school, and different topics. And children need to know what's happening in the world. They should not be thinking only about their phone and their friends and who's calling them. They shouldn't be thinking about that at the dinner table at all, and they should not be playing with video games at all. During my time as a young mother, these things were not around, and things were definitely not on our table. So my children grew up with self-esteem, self-assured, know where they're going, and these are the manners, and this is what I'm hoping for the next society or next generation of my children.
So, through example, you can help to reinforce this etiquette, this behavior with good manners. Are there any other ways to reinforce this behavior and etiquette among young people?
Well, yes, they should really read the books, because it seems that instead of books these days, there are these mechanical devices that they read instead of picking up a book, a normal book, and start reading it from the front page to the last page, or even looking at the back of the book to see what the book is about. I don't find them reading books anymore. They don't seem to be reading. Nobody seems to be interested in reading. Everybody is either looking in a computer or tablet or iPhone, and they're reading from those devices. But the books, no, I don't see them reading on the bus at all.
So you mentioned the separation of families through divorce. You mentioned the technology, the modern technology being a problem. Are these the main issues with the lack of etiquette and manners today, or are they a symptom of some deeper problem, maybe a deeper societal problem? Because you were born in Kiev, Ukraine, right? And you lived on a farm. Yeah. And this book actually talks about that, Animals from My Window. And I believe this is you.
Yes, it
right?
is.
This is little Regina.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you lived on a farm when you were 5 years old.
Correct.
And I looked at the book, I read the book, and there's actually some interesting facts about farm animals in there. Some things I didn't know, for sure. So can you talk a little bit about this and about your early life, and perhaps about how it differed in comparison to the lives of young children today?
Yes. When I was a little girl, I was 5 years old, I lived on a farm in Kiev during the summer with my grandmother and a lot of friends of mine. On my farm, we had a lot of animals. We had horses, we had cows, we had geese, pigs, and turkeys, and dogs, and chickens, and a lot of cats. And I would watch my grandmother feed the animals every morning, and there was a forest nearby our house, and there was also a river behind the forest. It was fun. We had a vegetable garden. It was a fun time that I had as a little girl, and of course organic food. And it was a really nice time, that time.
Did that influence you later in life, either as an author or as a business analyst, or getting into coaching, self-esteem, image, fashion? Was that an influence, and in what way?
I've always liked the animals, and growing up on the farm, you have a completely different outlook on life than growing up in the city. In the city, my parents lived in the city, and I lived in the country. So my outlook on life was a little bit slower, more relaxed, and I had my grandmother talking to me all the time, and life was a bit slower on the farm.
And no technology,
And
right? Like that.
absolutely no technology. Instead, I had at the table either I would have a dog around me, or cats, or even chickens. But that's farm animals, and that's farm life. And also, it taught me to pick up eggs in the morning from when the chickens lay eggs. So I would pick them up, put them in a basket, bring them to my grandmother, and she would cook them. So that kind of teaches you responsibility. So as a 5-year-old, you already have responsibility what you should be doing. We had strawberries, and again, my job was to go and pick up strawberries and blueberries and squash and bring it to the table. It was just what was expected of me, and I would fulfill my obligation. And there was just a lot of things that were happening on the farm.
A lot of different activities, a lot of different ways to engage a 5-year-old girl, is what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Now, apart from reading your books, which obviously is a great idea if you want to encourage etiquette and manners, are there any other ways that parents or guardians could encourage children who seem to be just joined to their, iPods and iPads and things, not to insult Apple or anything, obviously, but any high-tech device? How do you encourage them to disengage from those?
Well, I would encourage them to go outside and play. They don't play anymore, and of course the parents would sit outside and watch their children play. Take them to parks, make sure they're away from their cell phones. Don't give the cell phones to children who are under the age of 12 at least. Because right now, again, when they come home, I don't think that any children under 12 years old should be sitting there watching TV 24 hours of the day. Give them a limit, 2 to 3 hours, maybe 2 hours per day, and maybe that's even too much, but I think it's parents' responsibility to engage in their children's activities, to do homework with them, and that parents actually should sit down and do homework with the children, not the children do the homework by themselves. So this way the children can be asking proper questions of the parent. And I find that the parent should spend more time with the children, reading them books, like reading them good night book time, stories at night, but reading actual book, not from the iPhone. And when the children are small, they like the touch and feel and smell of a freshly bought book.
I know I do. I know I certainly do. To me, there's nothing more tangible than a book.
Exactly, right? Exactly. To me as well. I just love it. Because when the publisher asked me if I want to put it in the electronic device form, my book, I said absolutely not. I want the book to be tangible. I want it to be colorful. And I want the book to have a different color for every page. That's why on the first page it's blue.
Yep.
The next page is green. And then this page is brown. And this one is tan. And this one is greenish again. And
so that's
brown.
all to better engage.
Exactly, yes. And it's also easier for the children to read. Mm-hmm. It's very easy for them to read. Mm-hmm. And also the pictures it's in a whimsical style. So the pictures are very engaging for the children to read, or the parents to read it to the children.
Now, what about children? I always wanted to ask an author this question. Children exposed only to the technological devices and don't have that reinforcement to engage with a concrete book, the kinesthetics of the book, all the sensations of the book. Do you feel then that will affect them as adults? Because our generation, we were out playing hide and seek and tag and hog and bicycling, building tree houses. We built go-karts. Our parents were calling us into dinner. We would have been out for 8 hours on a weekend already, right? And you grew up on a farm, and we didn't have, video games was Pong. like this, right? So there was incentive for us to be outside because of the engagement was just so much more extreme, right? And that instilled a love of physicality that's lasted my whole life, so far. But what happens to people, do you think, that never engage with books or with more physicality? Is there a danger? Is there...
Well, there is always a huge danger of when a child comes home and he's got nothing to do. What's he gonna do? Can't go outside, so he'll turn the TV on, watch TV, eat popcorn, eat chips, eat chocolate, and there goes the muscle. And then he's increasing in weight, which is not healthy for the heart. And it's extremely dangerous, and the children gain weight unnecessarily because all they do after school is they sit and watch TV or play video games, and they don't go out, they don't play baseball anymore, they don't play basketball, no volleyball. And it's a shame, it's actual shame, because this is what the kids, like you were saying, in our generation, we were always outside playing basketball, playing baseball, and all kinds of different sports. And now, when you look around, you don't see it anymore. You see playgrounds, but there are no children on the playgrounds. It's a shame. We're building the playgrounds for the parents to take the children to the playgrounds. But what happens? The parents take the dogs to the dog park. Why won't they take the children to the playgrounds?
That's a very interesting point. That's a very interesting point. Also in the name of, safety, in the name of protecting. I think maybe it can get a little bit extreme.
Yeah, that's right. You don't let the child go to the playground by themselves, so you go with them.
Right.
And take the dog for a walk at the same time.
But then you hear about both parents working.
Yes.
And then not having the time. And I mean, maybe a bedtime story is just not enough, right? So how do you manage, right? How do you manage?
Yes. Well, you do try to manage. If you want to have children, you have to know to manage your time. Even though when both people are working, you still need to have time for the children.
That's a very powerful statement, Regina.
Yes.
I'd like to shift gears for a moment because I know you're also an etiquette coach for situations such as dating. So let's shift this to rated G or PG for a moment here. So what are some of the most transgressive etiquette breaches, shall we say, that you've encountered or heard about in your experiences as a dating coach?
Well, it's interesting. The traditional way, the way it used to be, is when a man asked a lady out for dinner, the expectancy was that he was supposed to pay for her. Now what I'm hearing is that, from my sources, what I'm hearing is that when a man does ask a lady to go for dinner with him, he doesn't want to pay, and he wants her to pay. Or they don't even go Dutch. He wants her to pay for him. So that's taboo. That's definitely a no-no. So of course that lady is not going to go out with that man the second time. But this is just not correct. If a man asks a lady to go out for dinner, it's expected of him to pay for himself and for herself and for her. And there were also stories, I know, that sometimes the man tried to ditch from not paying for his lady friend. He would try to get away from the lady friend through bathroom window.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a little extreme, but
yes.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends how the date goes, right? But just being devil's advocate now, Regina, how do you reconcile that idea of the man paying with this age of feminine empowerment and equality between the genders, and how do you justify that? I feel I can justify it. I'm a proponent of evolutionary psychology and evolutionary biology to a certain extent, but even having spoken with many women, the general trend I found is that they want a man to pay. They want a man to accept that responsibility. And I know most men, certainly my age, they want to. They feel it's not just obligatory, but the honorable thing to do, and they feel they want to provide. So are these archaic ideas now? Is there a place for that? You're telling me that there is.
I think there is. It's just such as tradition, based on tradition, the way it was before, when a lady is being asked for dinner, a man is expected. She expects a man to pay for her. That is really what's the difference between a man and a woman? She can go out with her girlfriend and she can pay for herself, and her friend can pay for herself. But through tradition, the way it used to be, and hopefully the way it still is men and women cannot be friends. I mean, even though I know so many people are saying, well, yes, they cannot be friends. No, they cannot be friends. So someone always wants to have more. So again, when the man is asking a lady on a date to go out, he doesn't want to be just friends. He wants to be more than just friends. And he wants to pay for her dinner. And if he doesn't want to pay for her dinner, well, then you know it's just friendship and nothing else, and it will not lead anywhere else. But if you were looking for something more than a friendship, then you're looking for something more deep in a relationship. And if the man wants to pay, so he's trying to impress her this way.
What about when a woman asks a man out? Is that something you don't advocate then because of this idea? Or is the outcome different? Do they go Dutch if a woman asks a man out? I mean, I accept the idea that you mentioned about, there's definitely many people who feel this way, that men and women can't be friends, and that someone's going to want more, and this and that. We can debate that till the cows come home, so to speak. The cows come home. But then when a woman asks a man out, can you elaborate a little bit about that? Like, etiquette-wise, is that verboten, or? When
a woman asks a man out, it's expected, she is hoping she would pay for him. So whoever initiates the date, then, and if he says yes, she would offer to pay for him. But it would be better even if she initiated the date, he would pay for her.
Okay, but then what about regardless of gender? Anyone asking anybody out. How do you figure that out?
Whoever asks someone out, it's expected that they would pay for them.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm sure we can talk about this forever. Do you have any funny stories? I mean, you talked about the bathroom window escape. Anything else? Perhaps something a non-male has done that struck a chord with you, or that you found very memorable?
Well, I also do international etiquette.
Okay.
And a lot of people come up to me. We live in this country, Canada, and Canada is liberal. But in terms of international etiquette, sometimes businesswomen, as you call some of them very feminist, would like to conduct meetings or do business in Saudi Arabia. So I have clients, women, who come to me in a very short skirts and business suit. And they're telling me that, well, we're planning to go to Saudi Arabia to do business, conduct business as a business attire in a very short skirt. And I would say, fine, there's two of you, where is the man? And they would say, what do we need a man for? Why do we need a man for? And I said, well, first of all, you cannot go to Saudi Arabia in a short skirt and short sleeves and try to conduct business without a man, because unfortunately that country just doesn't conduct meetings with women, only women. I'm sure they do, but if there is a man present as well, and not in a short skirt or hairs and tattoos, it's just not acceptable in that country. So again, I would try to teach them the best way to conduct business in countries like those.
So you advocate cultural sensitivity, then.
Culture sensitivity,
and that takes precedence.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. Now let's. I have lots more questions for you regarding this, but we're going to have to wrap this up soon. Let's go back to your children authorship. Can you talk to us a little bit about your publisher? You already mentioned them and you already
Yes.
mentioned the illustrations. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, my publisher's name is Author House, and these books are located in Chapters, Indigo, Barnes and Noble, Kohl, and Amazon, and I'm sure somewhere else, but those three main booksellers that would carry my books.
Are we going to see your name, Regina Gershman, on a third book? And tell us about that.
Perhaps in the future.
Perhaps.
I'm working on another book, a very interesting book, also a children's book, and you might see it soon. I'm just looking for a different publisher.
I see. Okay. So we're not going to get any more information out of you
No,
on that one.
not at the moment.
All right. Any chance any of your two sons guest starring in the book? Or no?
Unfortunately, no, they're not.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add in today's interview? Anything that you've been thinking about? Anything that you'd like to tell our listeners and our viewers?
I just want to say and emphasize again how important etiquette is in today's society. That please use please and thank you words everywhere, and be kind to each other, and try to have family dinners and spend more time with children. I realize how busy our world is today and how chaotic, but please remember that whatever you put in your children, the children will put into their children.
Okay. Well, on that note, Regina Gershman, I want to thank you for having us in your home. It was an honor and a pleasure to meet with you and to speak with you. I'm Sam Dubé. It was a pleasure to be here today, and we will see you again soon for another author interview in the near future.